noise up. But if you allow that Part 90 service to expand, it's going to be even worse, because if we interfere with them, the hams get to go bye-bye, or at least on a case-by-case basis, because right now they're not asking for the hams to go away. But as you know from the 900 service, when you had at the time when you had the Teletrack and other stuff that was Part 90, if hams interfered with it, you had the QSY into an area they weren't using. So which is the lesser of two evils? And the only reason that the upper part of that band has been so quiet, that the mesh people have been able to operate well, and our ATV operations up at 5910 has been quiet, is because uncertainty for the automotive industry, because Japan already has a 10 meg channel up in the 5.9 band that they're using this. The auto manufacturers here were starting to develop it, and then they stopped because they didn't know if the Wi-Fi was going to be over the top of them. So now that they're trying to clear that uncertainty. So what do we do as hams? Well, as hams, I think we need to ask to at least have a part of the chunk of the band to be primary, somewhere in 5 gigahertz in there. It's been our experience. So that's pretty much what we have gone. Any questions on either the 3 or the 5 gig band?
I have a question. How are we supposed to fight? You talk about fighting. How do you fight?
Well, the best bet is to, David Siddell is going to be sending out some questionnaires to some of the more technical types or groups, asking what they want, and then we're going to try to all sing in harmony, not necessarily be the same, but have as much of a unified voice as we can. That'll be our best bet.
Technical groups are? Because Kevin's technical. Are they going to send him a survey?
Well, they're probably going to send this out in a bulletin, the ARRL bulletin, to announce it, and then everybody will have a chance to do it. But they're also going to try to reach out, like the San Bernardino Microwave Society, Amateur TV Net. Well, we're already working with them, so and some of the other weak signal groups they're going to look at contacting, and Arden's been working with them for mesh. So there's stuff that's going on. It's just yes.
Isn't the first response just to say we reject your proposal? Because I think that's all they're asking. Do you approve or reject?
They're asking, read the notice. There's several questions. I didn't want to go into detail, but I mentioned the 5895 versus the 5905. That had to do with whether they want to leave the old vehicle system with a 10 meg channel between 5895, 5905, and a 20 meg top from 5905 up to 5925 for the new system, or give the new system 30 megs instead of 20 megs, or whether let the Wi-Fi go all the way up to 59. So there's like 3 basic things, but then there's additional questions. But all I can suggest, it's available. They're well publicized. You can go to the FCC website and download it. There's several questions that they ask in that notice of proposed rulemaking.
What's the deadline?
It's 30 days after it's published in the Federal Register is the window. That's your comment period. Then there's reply comments.
Is it published yet?
I haven't checked in the last few days. Keep hearing about the 12th of January is possibly the publishing date. It's already printed, and that was released in December. And in the original, notice of proposed rulemaking dockets were done on November 21st.
Everything I've ever seen published on this conflicts with everything else.
That's because there's a lot of misinformation. Dave Siddell, for those of you who don't know, he's the new, because Chris Emley is retired out, so he's no longer the legal counsel. But David worked for the FCC for decades as pretty high up in the FCC. In fact, Clay Pendarvis, which used to sign most of the mass media, for the broadcasters, he was 2 layers down in the hierarchy at the FCC. So Dave Siddell knows a lot of the I had a nice hour-and-a-half conversation with him. Really nice guy, because he knows a lot of folks that I know in broadcast. And so the NTIA is working with the FCC to clear out the 3 gets. So I said, it's not much of a chance we're going to be able to keep that. He thinks the mesh people, one thing he says he could do for the mesh people is to argue to keep the mesh people and the hams in that band until it goes to auction, because those frequencies will be auctioned off like any other cellular frequency. It's not, that's why the hams can't be there. It's not that they're trying to be mean. It's just the FCC will no longer own that spectrum. The cellular industry will when it goes out to bid. So anyway, that's pretty much how the process is going.
Okay, well, there's nobody in the industry that I know of that I can trust as much as I trust you. So I think the burden might be on you as far as our group goes to give us
Right. Well,
the straight
that's why I
information.
go straight to the end of our legal counsel, because if anybody's going to know, they're going to know. And since he worked for the FCC, I figured he's probably the most knowledgeable person about it, other than probably the FCC themselves, and he still has plenty of contacts there.
Okay, but it's still, the information's still sketchy. I don't know.
Well, this is what I heard from the horse's mouth, so that's, I don't know how much closer you can get.
Well, is there something in writing that we can comment?
Well, that's, I need to do a follow-up call because I haven't seen anything in writing from him yet, but, yeah. All right.
Repeater updates.
Oh, yes, I guess that's what you guys want to, as far as repeaters, Roland, you want to grab the smaller of the two amplifiers? The one with the white circuit board. Okay, this is the Jim Cleansing XRF, turn so you can see circuit board. 150 watt amplifier. We typically, for analog TV, would run that at 100 watts peak sync, or digital about 30 watts. This will be the new amplifier to replace the 4 RF power bricks, the old bipolar brick amplifier. And because the existing amplifier, we're only running about 35 watts peak sync. So this will give us about 4, maybe 4.5 dB increase in output from white tank, as well as the intermodulation distortion is much less on that amplifier. Yeah, go ahead. We already have one up at Mount Lemon. It's been working great. Out in California, we have one of those amplifiers on Snow Peak, and that's running digital. We have one on Mount Wilson. Santiago Peak, if you're ready for the next one, has a quantity of 2 4-brick amplifiers phased together for years. And so this amplifier is based off Jim Cleansing's newest amplifier, which is a 600 watt amplifier based off of a 700 watt transistor. This is a 50 volt LD MOS, has a 1/2 inch thick copper plate or heat spreader, and with less than a 1/2 watt drive from PHA1 mini circuits, little mimic driving a model 202 mimic, I was able to get 85 watts out of that amplifier. That was about 350, 400 milliwatts drive. So it's a little over 20 dB a gain. The smaller the die-cast box has a speed control, which monitors the heatsink temperature and cranks up the fan speed as needed. And then there's a little simple bimetal switch that at 65 degrees C, if the fans failed for any reason, it'll shut the bias off on the amplifier when the heatsink temperature gets up there. And then you wanted to just hold up the fan tray. There's 4 fans, and the reason it's on an RCA jack is every couple of years we usually replace fans unless they get noisy. So here, instead of having to pull the whole amp off to change the fans or have to go open up the back of the rack to do it, just pop a couple of screws, and then that tray will fit right under the amp, and because it's set up like a chimney, it'll just blow the air out the top. That's the existing double brick, 4-brick amplifiers that way, with the heatsink fins this way and this way hitting each other. Then the edge is bolted to the rack plate, and then we have air coming from the bottom up through the top. Yeah, basically for those of you who are not familiar with the repeaters, all of our ATN repeaters except for Greens Peak and Santa Barbara has 434 analog, 434 DVB-T, but the DVB-T is 2 megahertz wide. And somebody said, well, why do you do that? You could do 6 megahertz and run HD and all kinds of other things. Well, In the case of the AM video, most of your power is at where your video carrier is at in the oral carrier, where the oral carrier is at 438.5, which is above the AMSAT window. The video, most of the video energy is in between 433 and 435, and most of it actually within about plus or minus 150 kilohertz of 434.0. So we really don't, and we're cross-polarized from the 432 weak signal. So unless somebody's really close to you, you usually aren't going to hear the ATV on 432. Now, since that time, a lot of the ATVers have gone to vestigial sideband using cable TV BT instead of the more robust QPSK, and we're able to do 720p on it. It's working. So all the repeaters have that as a receiver for digital input, and then we have an FM mode input on 2441.5. And then the repeaters, all of them except for Oak Mountain, have an output in the 1200 megahertz band, either on 1241.25, 1253, 1265, 77, or 89. Now the repeaters in California and the one on Mount Potosi, Nevada, is all linked by microwave. Most of the links are either in the 5 gig 2.4, and there's one 1200 meg link from Mount Potosi back to Ord Mountain. Arizona is linked between Lemon to Mesa and from Mesa to White Tank. And one of these days we're going to try to get the microwave link to tie Arizona into the California system. To talk to some of our other chapters during the net time, we have some IP manually operated links so that we can get other participants or other repeaters cross-tied with ours via IP, but they're generally short duration during the net, not left on 24/7. Any questions so far on the repeaters? Yes.
The 434, I guess, maybe 433, I don't know. Input, you said we are capable of doing 720p through experimentation, but there isn't anything operating that yet, right?
Roland's, when you watch him on the net, he's going 720 into the repeater, which gives a little sharper picture on the analog output of the repeater.
Well, if you set it up for that, it doesn't automatically switch.
No, it's not switching. What it's doing on the receiver side of things, it's actually descaling from the receiver on the hill. So you're not basically doing what you call different, it's not transposing down at the station rate, down at the station. It's down converting, or not down converting, but basically going from 720 to 40 within the receiver itself. So we did some experimentation. I'm actually feeding a 720 signal into my high des transmitter, feeding 16 QAM, and let's see, what megahertz was I at? I was like
2.6, I think.
Yeah, 2.6 megahertz going out. And what I did is I upped my data rate, got into the repeater, and guess what? Now people can actually read my graphics that I write on the screen during the nets.
That's fine, but I'm still really fuzzy on this. Is that set up, is the receiver set up specifically to handle 720?
No. The receiver's auto scale doesn't, all the receiver cares about is what is your center channel frequency and what is your bandwidth. The receiver doesn't matter if you're running European digital format, meaning based off of the PAL system, because believe it or not, we still have NTSC and PAL on digital. It's the timing is whether you're timed to a PAL system or NTSC, but the receivers doesn't care. It'll auto scale anything you send it. All it cares about is frequency and bandwidth.
So we can send it SD or 720p and it will
right.
track it.
Down the road, when we get some digital outputs and we change our controller so we have some digital, or what they call transport system or TS streams. When we get to that point where we can switch at that level, then you would be able to run HD on the repeater if you're running digital in, digital out.
Is White Tank set up this way so that we can transmit?
Yeah, you can change.
720p
You
into
can.
it now?
It won't transmit 720 because
we
the
transmit 720p into it.
Yes, doesn't matter which repeater. They all work the same.
Okay, can somebody send out the parameters that we need for the
It'll be on the
transmitter?
website soon, or we can get it to you.
Which I'll explain to you in a moment.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. President.
Thank you for all that information, Mike. Appreciate it. Now, we're moving into our ATV or ATN meeting. So I know the microwave guys are here. More than welcome to stay. We're still working on the raffle if anybody's interested. And in the meantime, while everybody's working on the raffle there, old business.
Now, Ed, did you want to do the renewals and donations before the guys left, or?
Well, let's send that to Lee.
Okay.
As far as donations and club dues.
Yeah. Club dues are $75 a year. And we don't prorate them or anything like that because it's hard to keep track of what it says. You know, if you join in June, it still costs you $75.
Yeah, usually 2 months before the new year starts, if anything there is applied to the next
Yeah.
year.
So we're good there. $75 a year, and we receive donations of any amount at any time. Usually about the middle of the year, June, thereabouts, July. I start sending letters out saying, hey, we're empty on the account. Who would like to add to it? Find new members,
And how
or
would they get that to you? Did they make
Okay.
it out to ATN or to Lee, or?
they make it out to ATN, AZ, and or Treasure, ATN Treasure. Either one will work. They don't need to use my name or anything because then any treasurer can take care
So
of
for
it.
those who want to donate, see Lee.
Simi, yeah.
Huh?
Did I hear something about a PayPal?
We're gonna set that up, so
They're
I'm
gonna
gonna be
set
explaining that.
up. We don't have it yet, but they're gonna set that up.
Amateur
We
television.
don't have all that set up yet.
He doesn't have it set up yet, but, Lee, do you want to give him your email address so that?
Yes.
Then you contact Lee and then he'll keep you informed on that?
Right. It's K0CCU dot ATV at gmail.com.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
I can,
Appreciate it.
I have a good mailing list now, I can send that information out, and you can send it.
Thank you, Lee.
Straight up.
All right. Next up, old business. Now, on the agenda, there's nothing, but Bob brought to my attention that he has some old business to bring up. So, Bob, the mic is yours.
Alrighty, as a lot of the ATV people know, we've been trying to get a ham fest going in Surprise. We got to donate a lot and location for the for it. I went to Surprise. Believe it or not, I went through 6 different planners, is what they call themselves. Planner 2 section. And nobody knew what I was talking about when I was trying to get a
Do you
permit.
want to take, get everybody's address down as donating there so we give them a thank you.
Anyway, I finally found a gentleman. His name was Hobart Weingard,
Thank you for coming.
and he knew all about ham radio operators and ham fests and so forth. So it's best that we talk to him when we do plan to do this thing. I've got the application, which I want to turn over to the president. The card, business card on there, is the only man in there that even knows what we're talking about when we talk about having a ham fest and what it consists of. The main things they were interested was it's a dirt lot. And they don't want, they asked me, well, where are you parking? If you've got cars going and coming, you're going to raise and dust. Now you're going to have a water truck and all this other crap. Anyway, I sat down and talked with him. I said, no. I said, it's a 7-hour event. We're going to run, a few people will run in there, park their vehicle, will be there 7 hours, and they'll pull out. There won't be no dust. Well, as long as they go slow. He says, remember that. Anyway, the big thing they're concerned with is the on-street parking and insurance. The insurance, they want $1 million liability policy. Now, Mike was supposed to get something on that. haven't heard from him on it.
We got $2 million liability with ATN, but I gotta make sure that it was specific. What I need to do is do, what they call I don't know who has to be additional insured, but probably your boss who owns the property would have to be listed as additional insured. If I was your boss, I would be asking for that.
He's asking for that.
Well, then I'll have to see if they will do an additional insured. If not under the existing policy, how much of a rider, how much of an additional rider would we need to pay to have that? So I need to do a follow-up call with him.
Well, what he actually implied was that he wanted to.
Who's he? Your boss?
Yeah, well, he's not my boss no more. I'm not.
No, I
manager
mean
of
that.
the-
You know what I mean.
But
The
yes,
landowner.
the owner of the property said, "I just want relieved of any liability."
Right. So you would.
That's
He
all
would
he
need
said.
to be.
He's not
He would
asking
need to
for a
be
particular
listed
amount.
as additional insured.
Right.
So yeah, we have done for the site, like for our site owner on the insurance, I have them every year, they to give a document, additional insured, which, Antenna Sites Inc., and then that gets sent over to them. They don't charge us any extra for that, but it's paperwork I've got to do to do that every year.
Okay. Well.
For every site owner who, have repeaters that wants one.
All right. Now I also know that our vice president has been working on this situation. He has something to say about it, so I'll turn the mic over to him.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I hold a mesh workshop at my house every first Saturday of every month. You're all welcome to come, by the way. So put that commercial in. At the last meeting, one of the people, and I can't remember his name offhand, but I can look it up, who is one of the officers for ARCA, approached me, said he was aware that we were trying to set up a ham fest in Surprise, and I may have mentioned somewhere along the way that we were checking into insurance, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about that. You guys are ARCA members, and you're covered, as long as it's the ham fest is affiliated with ARCA," and which would be an easy thing to do, apparently. So I'm checking into this. For those of you who aren't familiar with ARCA, it's an organization that represents virtually all clubs in Arizona, and for the longest time they set up ham fests everywhere for especially itty-bitty clubs, and pretty much ran the show. And so they've been using their insurance to cover ham fests since, I don't know, 100 AD or something like that. So it sounds like we would be covered that way, but we really need to make sure and get something in writing that.
Like Bob says, the owner of the land's going to have a document that shows him as additional insured.
Well,
ARCA's going to have their insurance company if they're going to do it.
yeah, we'll have to figure out what to do about this.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing that they said they felt that we were already covered as long as we.
How much of the cut do they want for that?
I don't think they're going to want any. They're pretty easy to work with. So I'll check into it a little bit. I'll make sure that Ed's in the loop and Bob's in the loop, and we'll try to get to the bottom of it. And if we can do this, it's really important that we do this without spending a lot of money, because we aren't in this to lose money. And, all this bureaucracy could create a problem for us.
And we need the volunteers too to collect the fees as people come in and all that.
Well,
We need volunteers for more than that. We need volunteers for the cleanup of the property before we turn it back to the owner. He definitely wants it cleaned up.
Well, I'm hoping we will have all of this straightened out, squared away, all the T's crossed and the I's dotted by February 10th, which is roughly a month away. If we don't have it together by then, trying to get it together in the last
Go
month
next year then.
won't work. Okay, so, that's okay. I don't think there's that much that needs to be done. We'll work together on it and see where we go.
Also, I took care of the restroom problem. We don't have to worry about getting the outhouses. the porta potties. The manager of the park, who lives next door to me, he took it upon himself to open up their restrooms. And there's one male and one female restroom at the park itself. course, I have to walk around the fence, so to speak, to get there. But we have those restrooms. But once again, we have to have a volunteer to clean it up afterwards.
Well, you need to have a pump. He wants the pump too, doesn't he?
Huh?
He wants the tanks pumped when they're
No,
done?
no, there's no tanks there. It's city.
No, I meant the porta potties.
We don't have porta potties. That's just it. That saves us $45.
Regular
Oh,
toilets.
it's tied to the city sewer.
Yeah,
Okay.
our
So here-
our
here-
restrooms are in a building all to themselves.
So here's my one question, because, you know, I'm very familiar with bicycle events and how many people per porta potty or per potty station you should have. How many people are going to be expecting to the Hamfest?
Well, being the first time, I really don't expect that much. Hopefully, we'll have the vendors, and hopefully, if we advertise it,
Hope you have at least have 100 people show up.
yeah.
So-
But the point is, we only have the 2 restrooms.
Well, if it was 100 people.
As 100 people, I say 4 restrooms, you know, 2 men, 2 women. So
Well, we don't
unless
have
you're
that.
putting
We got
unisex.
2, 1 of each. There's a church behind us. I haven't figured this down church out up there because it's something else. You hear all kinds of preaching going on.
They want you to become a member?
Don't have to, but no. The point is, they have outside restrooms from the church itself. But I've heard the church going on. I walked over there one day and looked in the door. It's all just a tape recorder playing. 2 people inside the church. But anyway, I haven't talked to them yet, but I'm pretty sure I can swing a deal there. They hold a car wash every Sunday and take in money over there for themselves, and I can go over and talk
Hey,
to
maybe
them.
that's a better deal. We have to do a car wash.
Car wash.
Yeah.
No, it's a wash. It's a car wash.
Anyway, the point is, there's other possibilities to get 2 extra restrooms if we need it. But once again, we have to have volunteers, and all the volunteers are in the room. So, but anyway, that's all I have on it, and I'm going to turn the mic over.
I just have a quick question. Are the restrooms that are available one-holers or more?
Pardon?
Are the restrooms one-holers?
Yeah, that one man.
Oh,
men's
okay.
room, one.
So there's no urinals in the men's room?
No urinals, no
Just one toilet?
So it's what I call
Single-
It's called
Single bathroom. Single
single-use-
closet.
Single-use bathroom, basically, is what it's
The
called.
men's bathroom, it's got a shower, sink, and toilet.
One. Okay. Makes a difference.
Yes,
If
it
it has
is.
4, then maybe 1 bathroom is enough.
So, well, you can have 2 we'll call unisex. You can probably get away from that. So, but there's issues about that too. So,
Well, there's
Yeah,
nothing
there's
in the
some-
rules about it. I know the city rules
so
on it.
no, just to be copacetic with an event, especially when you have 100 people. You know, if you're thinking about 100 people, you should have 4 restrooms because
Well, I could- like
because
I
you're gonna
said,
have a
I could
long
talk to
line
the
and people are gonna
church
be
and
doing
get
this.
2 more,
so
so we can work on that.
Yeah, so that we have some options, but we're kind of, 1 month will go really fast, so we have some issues that we have to work out, and we're running out of time.
And not only that, if there's any issues with the restroom facilities, if someone happens to have an upset stomach and barfing and all that, then the porta potty people can take care of all that when it's done, basically.
The
So,
document I need for the owner of the property is a real simple one. Thank you, Mr. Squires, for the use of your property. And tell him that we will not hold, we have an insurance policy covering any damages and liabilities on your behalf. That's it. Sign it. He says he's not looking for a simple, big, long 10-page contract with him. He
Understand.
wants it short, sweet, and simple.
All right. Thank you, Bob, for that old business there. Hey, yeah, and, putting on this Hamfest, I know is going to be, even for us, even our size is a big deal.
Yes, it is.
So,
And I didn't realize it when I mentioned this and got the lot donated to us.
right.
That it was going to be so much.
It's more than just having a yard sale, So it's a little bit.
I was thinking about that, just putting it down as a yard sale and forget it.
you gotta be careful.
I mean, it's
Sure.
not as much as the one they had today.
Right.
Because it's not as big, but
We've talked about it, $10 for a place to park for a vendor and $1 for each
I
person
don't think
coming
it's
in.
worth your time to collect that $2 or $2 or $3 is what I would suggest.
We were gonna do it for free. I figured we should do at least $1 so we get a count of how many people come in.
You know, $5 is maybe a little stiff for a first timer, but $2 would be reasonable.
What are you talking about, for the vendors or?
No,
Entrance.
for the people walking in off the
Well,
street.
keep in mind, this is not California.
I'm not talking about California. I'm
Well-
talking about, I just went to
No,
one
it-
today and paid $5 to get in. Now, it wasn't a real big one, but it wasn't a small one either, but make it worth your while, $2.
That included a raffle prize
Well,
ticket.
I found out something interesting today from, gentleman, was that, oh, he's right here behind us, asleep here. Anyway,
Gary.
down at the Quartz Fest, they don't get the, any certificates, they sort of do it on the cuff down there.
Quartz Fest, you talking about out in the desert?
Yeah,
Well, that's on BLM land.
so what, that be, well,
You don't need.
Gary,
to-
tell them what we were talking about earlier, please,
Fun for a swap meet?
about,
About Quartz Fest, about
About Quartz
legalities, permits, that type of
You
thing.
know, you have to have a permit if you're a vendor, okay?
You sell things.
So, kinda under the table, the last Saturday morning before we shut down at the end of the week, you can, as hams and whatever, you sell to each other, but vendors normally can't come out there and sell their wares, so it's just kinda kept down here, not advertised too much. We do have a little swap meet of all the Quartz Festers that stay out there all week. And there's a few people that are
okay,
coming out, you know, and we don't say anything, buy their wares. So if you have something to sell, put up your little table, don't cost anything, you know, don't cost anything for 14 days. We do provide porta potties and we do buy the insurance, so we put a big donation jug out there to help out. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen, so come out and have a good time. Starts next Sunday, and if you
and,
have something to sell, bring it.
another thing, our park holds, in the summertime, we hold a park,
Rummage sale.
yard sale, yeah.
Yard sale.
And we don't go for no permits or nothing else. And we got front
Yeah,
yard there in front of the
everybody's already
office.
there.
Yeah, but it's done by the people that are paying rent.
Right,
so
and
they're
that's
part
within-
of the-
Yeah.
Within
it's
private
no different than
property,
the yard
so-
So
sale.
I'm talking about, we don't go get no vendors permits or nothing to do.
Yeah, but you don't have vendors, it's just individuals selling to each other. That's different than having vendors on site.
As a matter of fact, he's talking about using the property, that we're gonna use to do the, yard sales in there.
We may not have vendors.
Yep, well, then that's what I'm thinking. Maybe we shouldn't even have vendors. Maybe we should make it more of
Well,
a,
anybody selling out of their pickup truck, just like they do,
Is a
the
vendor.
one they have today is legally considered a vendor.
Vendor,
Okay.
yeah.
If you do it without a permit and the city catches you, it's gonna cost you a whole lot more than paying them their permit.
Right, and then they can throw you
don't-
out.
You don't wanna be there in that position.
Incidentally, the price for the permit is $135. And the insurance required, liability insurance required is $1 million.
and we have,
We have two on the, well, so the club has two, but
So
We have to
that's
make
the
sure that's
only
covered.
two, that's the only two parameters right now we got to, contend with. There's a third one, which is a great big huge maybe. It's, $40 an hour to have a cop out there.
security.
Well, not for security, because we're using street parking. If it gets to be a traffic problem, they'll send the cop out there and we will be billed.
so we need a volunteer out there
As long as they're
doing some
parking along the curb, then it shouldn't be an issue.
traffic control.
Well, I'll tell you right now, that there's a commercial school, that's what I call it anyway, paid tuition school, high school behind us, and
Right.
grade school. And they got the traffic blocked all the way down Dyson Road and down to the school.
Charter.
Charter school, yeah.
Picking up, no, not,
Yeah, Yeah, pick up the delivery of the kids.
pick up and deliver the children there. And it gets so bad when you're going out to Dyson Road, you have to drive out in the first lane of traffic to see what's coming up the road before you can turn right. I mean, it's that bad. And they don't require a cop there blocking all that. I don't see why they would mess with
I don't
us.
think you're gonna have a problem with that. I wouldn't be too worried. As long as you got some off-road parking as well, I don't think it's gonna be an issue.
There's a busy street out in front, the frontage road for Grand, right? And then there's a not so busy street
Yeah,
in
we're
the back,
not,
right?
we're not major traffic on our road.
Right, so they're all gonna come and go on the non-busy street.
Right,
And there'll be just car parking on the other side.
right.
For the Thunderbird thing, they didn't have the cops or anything down there. It's not,
Well, I know.
that'd be twice,
They
three
just
times
said
the
if
size.
we caused a traffic problem.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I think that's the least of your worries with that.
Okay,
Oh, I got
old business. Great.
It's not like you're gonna have a rock concert out there with people, hundreds of people coming, then that's usually a traffic issue.
All right,
We make a lot of money on
let's move on here. New business.
New business.
New business.
I got a technology report.
Budget, income, and expense. I don't have anybody's name behind that.
Well,
I think we covered it with the
covered that with the
donations
treasurer's
and dues.
report.
Okay, then
Yeah,
new business annual dues, covered that as well.
right.
Other funding sources,
I think we've kind
We
of.
kind of covered that with the
Good.
with the Hamfest.
membership drive.
Basically, those two are just come out about the same.
Okay.
Well, membership drive kind of
Well,
basically.
Ham Club Online has a lot to do with this stuff.
Okay. Well, let me finish the next one down. Is set a date for the summer meeting, barbecue.
What date was this one?
What are we,
Second,
August?
this is the second Saturday of January,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
so maybe the second Saturday of July.
Is your house still gonna be up there?
Anybody second that?
No, we're talking about the, actually, where are we having it? Are we having it
Well,
at your place or?
If it's the second Saturday of July, you can have it at my place. I'll be gone the last half of July, and we don't want it anywhere close to July 4th.
Let's see, was July too soon or should it be August?
Well, that or
Well,
you wanna
6
do
months
it when
apart.
it's not so hot, maybe like June or May or something.
You never, no. Well, I mean, that's my suggestion. What's wrong? Let me find out what the date is. What's wrong with the second Saturday of July?
Nothing, it was
No,
Just
I'm
talk.
just not. I'm not available. I'm going to Minnesota that part of the month, so
Okay.
I prefer August myself.
I'll be back in August.
Second Saturday of July would be July 11th, exactly 1 week after the 4th of July. That would work very well for me, and nothing else in July works.
I'll second that.
And
How about August? Where you at in
let
August?
me take a look.
You also got that, the 10 gig contest in there too, we try to avoid.
Yeah, when is that?
Kevin?
Tammy?
Okay.
That's
Everybody went home?
an ARL thing.
The first week of the first Saturday of every month, I've got my mesh workshop, so I don't want to do that. That I know about. Everything else. Okay, I just lost my calendar.
We come out, because Don Hill's under the weather with some doctors. He's not gonna be doing our next thing on the Quartz Fest.
Oh, he won't be at Quartz Fest?
No, he's
He's not feeling
in
well?
medical care right now,
Oh, crap.
yeah.
I figured he'd be at Consumer Electronics Show.
I think he's not doing too well right now.
No, he's got some major medical, he's not disclosing what it is, but he doesn't look himself anymore.
Third weekend of August, and the third weekend of September is the
The
10 gig.
Third weekend of August, he said,
Yeah.
which would be the 15th.
So what about like the first or the third? I mean,
First, I cannot do the first, so. If it's at my house, that probably won't work.
oh.
But the second would work.
The second, but why do we want to do August instead of July?
The only thing I was thinking of July is that a lot of people will take off, some people take off on vacation for a week, either before, the week before, or the week after Fourth, in other words, include Fourth of July because of families. So some people may not have.
People take off for vacation all summer long.
Well, I understand that. But
And
what
around
I'm-
here, all year long. So, you're not gonna second guess this.
What I'm saying, Rod, is especially if you're having people coming in from out of state, is if we're already having to travel because of 4th of July, then to have to go through another long trip the following weekend, maybe not go over so well with our better halves, so.
Well, he can't make it anyway, and that's too bad. We love to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks, Rod. I would love to come too. I love coming here.
Well,
Oh, that's why
maybe,
we're also looking at, you know.
maybe trying to schedule it 6 months ahead is a silly
Now-
thing to do.
Now, of course, we're ATVers. You know, we link up on Whereby, and then we can all have a wonderful party. So,
Yeah.
Right, you know, and also, you know, we've incorporated monthly meetings now. So I know, you know, the winter and the summer meeting are the large ones, but we got a few little ones in there, you know, to cover business.
Well, the
Then we-
monthly ones don't really cover business. They're
Well,
intended to be
Just
social.
kind of a little.
they're just
social-
social events.
Yeah,
So,
but you can.
But we
talk
could.
about
we,
it.
we
Right.
talk about things.
Right.
And we do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we can, you know, we can dial something up to that point, so we have something to mention. Okay, next. So what are we at?
So we agreed not to agree.
Now I can do a technology report.
Okay, so now we're going to move on down to election. Pardon? Election of club members,
Members or
officers, club officers. Election of club
Before you go
officers.
that direction, I got a question on this, talking about getting the PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, you gotta stop and think about something. Like he said, $75 going through PayPal is gonna cost the club about approximately $3. So you're only getting 72 out of the 75. And if you say, well, we'll add that to the 75, that don't work either because then the cost goes up on the extra $3.
I'll interject on here regarding technology. Okay. Now the thing is that when you're a business and you're a vendor and you have a credit card swipe or credit or merchant account, okay, obviously that costs money. Okay.
Right.
About 3%.
There you go. And that's pretty much what PayPal is charging. It's pretty much charging 3%. You can do it two ways, okay? You can either charge a convenience fee to the person that's paying for the dues, which is I don't recommend, or $75 is, you know, quite a bit of money for
He
joining a
has
club.
an account right now.
Right, I understand that.
Several of us do.
I understand that. So if you're basically getting $72 and you're paying basically, you know, what the percentage for PayPal, that's all worth it. Because one, everything is handled by PayPal and you have no interaction except for what's coming into your account.
You get to count the money.
You get the, exactly, you just watch,
Well,
you just watch your account.
most people may still be paying by check, but we had one person ask a
Exactly.
question about.
And they can do that, and then you bypass the $3 charge.
But, right, so, and you can do that. And so either that, like I said, you can either charge it to the member, you know, in other words, you figure it out on the website, and then you have a form, you click on it,
Well, I'm
and then
gonna
they
be
pay a
sending mine
$2
to
convenience
you.
fee, quote unquote.
Because
Yeah,
I got
they call it
yours.
convenience fee, exactly.
Okay,
Well, now,
No.
if we go PayPal,
Yeah.
are we going to have a ATN, or is it going to be linked to our account?
well, you have an ATN account, right? Or is it just a personal account?
There's no charge for you having the account. They take it out of the money that goes
Right.
through.
Right.
So it's just a matter of getting a hold of PayPal, fill it, I did it back when I used to run ATVQ, and it took me 5 or 10 minutes, and I had it done. You just had to put the routing number and the bank account number where it's electronically deposited.
Right.
Right.
The electronic signature thing, well, just like
Sure.
you went on.
So it doesn't have to come to me. It can go to.
Exactly.
Right.
It would go straight
You
into
got-
the bank.
It just
Right.
goes straight into the account.
Right.
There's no interaction.
That's right.
And then Lee will get an email that
That's correct.
it took place.
That you got to
If
deposit.
there was a valid question, do we have a club account or is it a personal account?
We don't have a club account.
So it's your personal account?
No, we're gonna have to have it. We're gonna have to get a club account.
What account? What bank account do we have now?
Well, you've got
That's what I'm
two people, it still says the name ATN because you can, we're in California, you have to have a business license. You don't need the business license in Arizona. So you just take whatever account you have, it doesn't matter whose name it is. The only difference is that at some point, if it gets too high, then you're gonna have to pay taxes on it, that's all.
We have a bank account with Chase
what we need.
Bank.
That's all. we need.
Okay.
Who is the primary
It never
person
gets
on the
too
account?
high. Right?
What's that?
Unless you
It
get
doesn't ever get too high, right?
Right.
We don't have that problem right now.
If you hit $10,000, then
It's never been
PayPal will
high.
flag the IRS and whatever state you live in
Right.
that money's gone.
We're looking forward
You
to that
never
date.
even have enough to pay.
We're looking forward to that date, and we're looking forward to having that problem. And then we won't worry about 3%.
Well, there's an issue about who's primary on the account.
Correct.
All right.
My recommendation to avoid any liability is to form some kind of a club account. Okay, that's my recommendation.
We have.
Okay.
Well,
And-
I mean,
Because I know that I wrote my check out as ATN AZ treasurer, so I didn't know we actually have an account known as ATN AZ treasurer. Okay, so we
There's got
so we
about
do.
3 names on it. You can either put his name on it, you can put ATN AZ or ATN AZ treasurer.
Okay, so it's not a personal account basically.
it is not. It
Okay,
is a
and that's
quasi
perfect. Again, then you can
business
link
account.
then you can link PayPal right into that account.
Is PayPal set up yet?
No.
Who's going to set it up?
Well, here's my technology report. So-
Go Roland.
Thank you. Okay, Roland, KC68. Okay.